Hello friends, welcome to Savannah Knits, my knitting podcast where I talk all about the things that I'm knitting that are bringing me joy. My name is Savannah and I live in Utah in the United States where I'm a stay-at-home mom and I love to knit and read, and I like to also ask you guys a question of the day. So today's question is, what do you want to cast on next? So let me know in the comments. I would love to hear. I also am hitting a very exciting milestone next month. It's going to be my 1-year anniversary of posting videos on YouTube. I cannot believe that it's been a year already. Time is weird. Time goes by both slowly and fast, but in this case, I feel like it went by fast. I can't believe I've been doing this for a year. So I wanted to see if there was any interest of doing a type of Q&A video. I haven't really answered any questions before. I don't even know if that's something that you're interested in, or if you even have questions about me. I will not be offended if you don't, but if you do, feel free to leave them in the comments. I will also put a question box on Instagram if you'd rather do that. And ask me a question. Nothing is off limits. Ask me anything you want. And if there's enough questions, then I will either put some at the end of the next podcast that I do, or I will create its own video if there's a lot of questions to answer, which I don't imagine there would be. But yeah, if you're interested in something, feel free to comment below. If not, that's okay. I will not be offended. Also, before I get into things, I want to address the amount of chaos that is going on right now. My kitten is in a chaotic mood, so you might hear a lot of wrestling and maybe a little bit of shaking from the video if he bumps the tripod. There's also lawnmowers outside, which I forgot that it's Monday and lawnmowers come on Monday because I live in like a townhome community, so we don't have to do it ourselves. They do it and they always come on Monday, and I forgot that, and this is the one time that I can film. I have a busy week and my husband is taking the kids to the grocery store, so I have time to film. So we're just going to take advantage of this time, even though it might be chaotic and have background noise. Hope that you can bear with me on that. Also, where you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Savannah Knits. If you have more questions about the projects that I talk about here today, you can always check Ravelry because I keep that very updated, so feel free to do that. Or comment or ask me any questions through email. I even have my email down there. So that's where you can find me. Today we have a huge episode because it's been longer than I normally go with filming just because it's been busy summer. I have 3 finished objects. I have 3 works in progress, and then I have some acquisitions, and I also have a reading and watching update at the end. So let's get into it. I am wearing one of my finished objects. This is the Lumo by Rania Hakaleto, and it's from her book Lakeside Stitches, which is probably my favorite knitting book, I think, because I love all of the patterns in here. So the Lumo looks like this. I did the same colors as she did. I just switched my main color. So my main color is the blue instead of the brown. I made a size 4, which is a size large, I believe. And I used a 4mm needle and a 3.5mm needle for the ribbing. I used Knitting for Olive. I had a lot of this blue left over in my stash, and I had a weird amount where I couldn't make a tee out of it by itself, and I didn't really want to make an accessory with it. So I decided to do some color work to make it stretch farther into a garment. So I purchased the marzipan and the ochre brown to go with this blue to make this tee, and I love how the color combo worked out. I think it is super flattering on me, and I don't have a lot of dark blue garments in my closet, so I'm really happy to add this. I feel like it adds something new. I am also so obsessed with this yarn. It really is a beautiful, beautiful yarn. It feels a little dry, but when you block it, it just turns really soft and light and airy, and I am really, really enjoying wearing it. Even though it's hot outside, I still feel like this is perfectly okay to wear. I think that maybe if I was actually outside in the sun, maybe not, especially because the color work adds that double layer to the yoke. But for right now, I am enjoying wearing it, and I think it's a very, very beautiful pattern. I think the color work is stunning. For this tee, I did a tubular cast on. She doesn't mention what cast on to use, but I did a tubular cast on. And I feel like I'm getting better and better at it as I do it this year. So I'm happy that I did that. I do feel like the neckline flares out a little bit. I think I either need to like pull it to the side and like help it lay flat like that, or maybe add some elastic. I'll have to see what's the best option. So you knit the color work, then there's some short rows in the back after you do the color work, and then just stocking it for the rest of the body. And for the sleeves, I thought that I would have enough yarn to do long sleeves, and so I tried it, and I got pretty far down my arm before I realized I would not have enough yarn. So I did unravel back and just did short sleeves, which I really like that. I'm fine with it being short sleeves, but I was wondering if I would get more wear out of it if it were long sleeves, just because I feel like with this color palette and the colorwork pattern, it lends itself more to a fall and a winter vibe more than a spring and summer, just because these are more fall and winter colors. And this type of colorwork also seems like it would be more of a fall or winter. So I was hoping that I could get long sleeves and that it could be a sweater, because I think I really would wear it a lot more in the fall and winter. But just because it's short sleeve doesn't mean I can't wear it in the fall and winter. I feel like I would be totally fine to wear it as well. So I'm not sad that I couldn't do long sleeves, but it was more of a preference, but that's okay. Still happy with it. And I did make the sleeves a little bit longer than what the pattern suggests, and I really enjoy the length of them. And overall, I just love the fit of this tee. I feel like it has a little bit more positive ease than I thought it would, just because my gauge was a little bit tighter than what the pattern recommends, and I chose a size that shouldn't have had a lot of positive ease on me. But so I'm not sure if it just grew a lot in blocking, or maybe I relaxed a lot after the colorwork section. But honestly, I really like it now because I feel like it has that relaxed feel, and I really like when my t-shirts have a relaxed feel to them. So very happy with the fit, and overall just very happy with this project. It was really, really fun to knit, and I had a good time both making it and wearing it. So I started this tee on June 13th and finished it on July 13th. So it took me exactly a month, which I am very happy about, because fingering weight colorwork tee, that's pretty good. I did definitely focus on this a lot and really wanted to get it done. I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling the end of summer, even though it's going to be hot here for another 2 months at least. I am feeling like I want to knit sweaters, and so I feel the clock ticking of how many summer garments I can finish before I want to move on to sweaters. And so I'm really trying to race the clock and finish as many summer garments as I can, because there's so many I want to make, but I'm almost to the end of that era. Want to make some sweaters soon. My next finished object is a pair of socks. These are what I am calling my In Bloom socks. They are just some basic socks with a heel flap and gusset, and I used Ruby and Roses, her soft rose base in the color In Bloom, which is why I'm calling them In Bloom socks. And then I did a contrast toe in just some Cascade Heritage in the color Snow. I experimented with size on these in that I didn't change the number of stitches that I usually do, which is 64 stitches. I did a 2mm needle, so that's a size US 0. And I don't feel like the fit changed that much. I also made sure to not totally wet block them. I just put them on sock blockers and then sprayed it with water with a spray bottle and then let them dry, and I feel like that really helped not stretch them out. So I think that made the biggest impact on the fit because I just need my socks to be tighter. So I think next time I might try a 60 stitch sock just to see if I can get even more snug of a fit, but these ones do fit perfectly fine. And I think that as I wash them, they'll just keep shrinking back down to their regular size, so it'll be fine. For these socks, I did a 2x1 ribbing cuff for about 3/4 of an inch. I did a 4-inch leg, heel flap and gusset, and yeah, just contrast toe, as I mentioned before, which I think that this is my favorite combination. I really like the 2x1 rib for 3/4 of an inch and then a 4-inch leg. I find that to be my favorite. So I started these on June 28th and finished them on July 17th. So I worked on them for 2 weeks and 5 days, which is pretty quick for me for socks. And I think that's because in the summer we go to a lot of parks and I bring my knitting to the parks because my kids are finally old enough to play by themselves at the park. I don't need to shadow them the whole time and make sure they're not going to walk off a high part on the playground or anything. So I really can get a lot of knitting done in the summer when we're outside. So I think that's why I got these done so quickly. My next finished object has a bit of a story behind it. So my parents went to Iceland and I told them that if they bought some yarn, they could pick out some yarn for me to make an accessory for them. Technically Christmas, but I'm just going to give it to them before Christmas because I cannot wait that long, and I'll give them something else for Christmas. So I told them that, and then they also were very kind and generous and brought me back some yarn as well for taking care of their house and just because they're very nice and generous people. So my dad wanted a cowl for his accessory, so I made him, it's called Oats by Tin Can Knits, and it's just a very simple cowl. So this pattern, it comes in many different weights. There's a fingering weight, DK weight, and a worsted weight in this pattern. It's also a free pattern, which is amazing. And it comes in 2 separate sizes. So there's a small size, which is just this one that's once, my kitty is going crazy. So there's a small size that comes in just this width, and then you could make a longer size that then you could fold twice around your neck. My dad just wanted the simplest version. Also in the Oats cowl is that half of this should be garter stitch, so you have a garter stitch section and then a stockinette section to add some interest. My dad just wanted the stockinette section all the way around, so that's what I did. So very simple. I probably could have just come up with this on my own because it's not like it's super radical, but I didn't know what stitch count to do with using the worsted weight yarn, so it was just very easy for me to follow this pattern. So I used Texlet Lopi, which is the yarn that he picked out, in the color 0053, which is this beautiful dark brown color that has maybe more reddish brown, and it's very simple. You just cast on, do some ribbing. I did 1 1/4 inches of ribbing, and then you just knit the cowl as long as the pattern tells you, and then finish off with more ribbing. So this took me such a short amount of time. It took me only 5 days to make, and I did size down my needle size a lot to hit gauge. So I knit this on a 3.75 millimeter needle, which for a worsted weight is quite tight, but I think that that's perfect for the cowl because he wants it to be warm. And so yeah, there's not a lot of stretch to it. So I think it'll be very nice and warm. I am surprised that he picked Let Lopi for a cowl because I do find this yarn to be pretty itchy, but it also does soften up over time. I have a jacket in this yarn and it is loosening up. So I think that he'll be okay and I know that he will love it. I'm gonna give it to him this week and I'm excited. I hope my kitten hasn't been too loud and distracting. Very sorry if so. There's no stopping him. I can do nothing about it. I want to share my whips with you now. I casted on the Clay Tee by Ozetta. I've always loved her clay sweater, and when she came out with the tee version, I liked it even more, so I knew I had to cast it on as soon as possible. I am making a size large, so the 5th size in the pattern, and I am using Knit Picks Cotlin, which is a cotton linen blend in the color Wallaby. So it's this really pretty brownish grayish color. And I'm using a 3.5 millimeter needle to get stitch gauge, but my row gauge is incredibly off. And I think it's because the Clay Tee pattern recommends that you use knitting for olive silk held double, which I think will give you a way different row gauge than using just a single strand of a DK weight yarn. Which I noticed in the projects on Ravelry is that the test knitters that used a single strand of DK, their row gauges are not very accurate to what the pattern suggests. So I think that that's why. And luckily with Ozetta, she does give a lot of measurements for parts of the pattern, and it's a drop shoulder, so you really can go by just the measurements that you need to get to rather than following the row gauge or the rows perfectly, if that makes sense. So for this back section, I just knit until I hit the measurement for my size. For the front, I did follow the exact rows for shaping this part right here for the left and the right fronts, but then when I joined under the neckline, I just knit the front section until it matched up with the back section and then joined under the underarm for it all, and it fit great. I feel like the armhole depth was great, and I'm really glad that I went with the measurement rather than the rows recommended because obviously my row gauge is very off. I'm getting 32 rows instead of 38 or something like that, so it is quite a big difference. But I really like the fabric that I'm getting with this, so it was worth it just to kind of figure out what I need to do for the row gauge. I have been working on this a lot, and this is why I have this thing is almost finished, and I started it like 2 weeks ago. So I finished the body. It's really, really easy to finish the body because you just end it on a garter stitch section, if I can show you here. I don't know what I'm doing. Here we go. And then you just bind off like normal. So very fast. And then it has a rolled collar, which I have done. And I did one less row for the collar just because of my gauge, my row gauge being a little bit off. And I don't know if doing one row less made a huge difference, but I like how it looks. So I did that. And then I just finished a sleeve. I did shorten the sleeve quite a bit, again, because of my row gauge, but it's quite easy to do, and I feel like it ends on a great spot. So all I have to do is do one more sleeve, and it's so quick that it's going to take me just a couple hours, and then weave in all of the ends and then block it, and this tee should be dry and ready by this weekend. So I'm very excited about that. I've absolutely loved working on it. I think the pattern is very fun. It has that stripe quality that makes you just want to get to the next garter strip stripe. So I have really enjoyed working on it for that reason. I love the oversized fit of it. I am really enjoying the yarn. It feels really nice, and I'm a big, huge fan of this blend. I've never worked with linen before, but yeah, I'm just really enjoying it. I think it will be perfect, especially because it is an oversized tee. So having that cotton and linen blend will really cool it down and not be as hot. So I started this on July 14th and I have been working on it for exactly 2 weeks. So yeah, very excited to have this done soon so I can wear it. So my second work in progress is a gift for my mom. It's with the yarn that she chose from Iceland. So I am making her the Anna-Liisa, which is this colorwork hat, also from the book Lakeside Stitches by Rania Hakalito. So it's this beautiful colorwork hat with a pom-pom on the top. I think that she will really enjoy it. And she chose this yarn that is Tex Camp Yarn, I think is how you say it, in the colors Almond and Sand Shell. I think these colors will look really, really good together in the colorwork hat. So I am making a size 2 because my gauge is a little bit tighter. This is a sport weight yarn technically, and the pattern calls for a DK weight yarn, and so my fabric is a little bit tighter, but I really like how the fabric is looking, so I'm just going to leave it. And I'm using a 3.5 millimeter right now for the ribbing, but when I get to the colorwork section and the decreases, that will be on a 4 millimeter needle. It is a double folded brim, so lots of 1x1 ribbing to get through. But so far I've been making good progress. I think I have just a little bit more of the ribbing before I can move on to the colorwork, which I'm really excited about. Also, I was knitting on this outside yesterday and I recently did my nails, and so I was looking at my nails with this knit and it's totally giving like Neapolitan vibes, which I am loving. Perfect for summer, right? So yeah, not too much to say about this hat, just plugging along on the ribbing. And I did do a tubular cast on as well for this hat. This year has just been me practicing tubular cast on. I feel like I've been doing it on a lot of projects, which is great because it's becoming easier and easier and I really enjoy doing it. I would almost rather do a tubular cast on than a tubular bind off, which is crazy. Oh my goodness, kitty. So yeah, I'm just really love how the tubular cast on looks. So I'm proud of myself that I've been doing something that once was difficult and now it is easy. Magic of knitting, magic of trying new things. I started this on July 21st, so I have been working on it for 1 week. So my next work in progress also has a backstory. It also kind of has to do with acquisitions and plans, kind of all in one. Oh my goodness, my cat is attacking my hair. Stop it. You would think I don't give him attention, but I do. So my friend Melody and we went to our favorite local yarn store, well, at least my favorite local yarn store, which is Harmony, and they were having a sale on Cascade Yarn one of the days because it was the Utah Yarn Crawl. And so we didn't have enough time to go to all the Utah yarn stores this year, but we definitely wanted to go to Harmony. They were having a sale every day on different yarns. So we decided to go on the Cascade day because I wanted to pick up some Cascade yarn mostly for sock knitting, and she wanted to as well. And so we went that day and neither of us really came home with Cascade. They didn't have a lot of neutrals left when we got there, so I think that had something to do with it. And then we were just really drawn to more colorful things. I kept going towards this beautiful Surrey from Lovejoy Fiber and Knits, and I've never worked with a Surrey before, and I really loved this color. And I realized that when I was learning how to make socks, the first socks I ever knit, I used yarn from Lovejoy Fibers and Knits in her sock base, obviously, but in the same colorway, which is waffle cone. And so when I saw this, I really wanted to try the Surrey because I had such great memories of making those socks on that waffle cone yarn when I first started last year. And I then thought that I could make a Doppio because I would only need 2 skeins of the Surrey. And then I had this Drops Fable and stash that I've been wondering what to do with. And I have a tea quantity of this in stash, and I didn't really know if I wanted to make a tea out of it. And so I thought I could use this with this, and then I just needed to find a third fingering weight strand to hold to make the Doppio work. And so then I went to the Cascade and found this beautiful Cascade 220 fingering. Let me see what the color is. 1049, which is this peachy color. And so holding these 3 together, I think would make a beautiful Doppio sweater. I thought of the Doppio because I have made a Doppio before. I made a pink version. You can find all the details on my Ravelry if you're interested. And I just really loved that pattern. It's worked up on bigger needles, I think 6mm needles, and just goes by super fast, and having these color combinations really makes it fun to work on. So I've been craving doing another one. So I was really excited when I came up with this idea, and then I got Melody on board because she had never made one before. And so I had fun helping her pick out. She went more of like a navy blue direction, and I think it's super beautiful. I'll have to show you guys if she's okay with it when she is done with it. So I made a swatch. Here's the picture of the swatch. When I swatch just enough to measure my gauge, and then I unravel it. I don't wash my swatches, which, you know, is a problem, but I feel like it hasn't burned me a lot yet, so I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing because I'd rather use the yarn in a sweater than wait for it to dry and wash it and then potentially have all of these swatches laying around. It feels kind of wasteful to me, but I recognize why it's important. I'm just a rebel, apparently. So I made the swatch and then I cast it on. And I cast it on like a week ago. And this is all that I have. So I cast it on and that was it. Then I put it down. Because, let me just show you. It's really pretty. I really like the peachy pink colors here. I think it will be really beautiful. The reason why I cast it on and I didn't touch it at all is I wanted to work on this at the same time as the clay tee, and I can't do it. I really can only work on one garment at a time. I tried my best, but my brain just can't. I just don't want to choose what to work on every day. I want that choice to be made for me, and I don't want to waste energy on trying to decide because I have a really hard time making decisions, even small decisions. I'm just so indecisive. So I unfortunately could not work on both the Doppio and the clay tee at once. I am not like all of you amazing people that can have multiple projects or multiple garments at one time. It just stresses me out. So I decided that I needed to finish the clay tee as soon as possible so that I can get to the Doppio. So I'm almost done with the clay tee, so I should be able to work on this sweater very, very soon. I also was wondering if maybe I should look for a different pattern for the Doppio because I could just find a pattern that has the same gauge as the Doppio and kind of the same fit to just use the same amount of yarn that I have, just in the interest of making a new pattern. I don't often make the same pattern over and over unless it's an accessory like socks or gloves or hats or things like that, because for a garment I feel like there's just so many patterns out there that I want to experience all different types of pattern writing styles and different techniques and different styles. Like no two sweaters are the same, and so I am kind of second guessing whether I want to do a Doppio, but at the same time I know exactly how much yarn I need to make this Doppio, and I also know that I love the fit of my first Doppio and I really liked working on it, so I think I really should just stick with it. But I am a little bit tempted on finding a newer pattern just for the sake of trying something new. But I also don't want to be stressed about yarn because I don't know if I could get any more of this. I think that I think there was a couple skeins left, but I doubt that they're there by now. So yeah, I've been thinking about that. We'll just have to see what I decide to do in the next week. But I started it on July 18th, so it's been a week and 3 days, and I think whenever I start to pick it up again in earnest, I'll just restart the clock because I literally only cast it on and I didn't even do an extra row more than that, and so I don't want to just have an extra week on there when I didn't even touch it. So I am really excited to work on it, whether it's the Doppio or another sweater. Another reason to do the Doppio too is that Melody is doing it as well, so it'd be fun to buddy knit with her, but also I feel like it probably would still feel like a buddy knit because we're both using a similar combination of yarns to make a beautiful fluffy sweater. So yeah, decisions. So let's go through some acquisitions really quick. So obviously the acquisitions that I've showed you for the Doppio and for my parents' accessories with the yarn that they got from Iceland, those are acquisitions. And then I also have 2 balls of this Fiala in the color 3002, and my dad mentioned that he wanted some mittens next, and I have 2 balls of this because he bought 2 balls of this and 2 balls of the Let Lopi for this cowl because he couldn't decide which color to do, and then he ultimately decided on this one. So I think I'm going to make him some mittens out of the 2 balls of this that I have. This is a sport weight yarn, so I think it will do really well in mittens. I'm not sure when I'm going to get to it, hopefully before Christmas. So that's the plan for that. And then they also got me 2 balls of this Let Lopi, which is in the color 1407, which is this dark moss green color. I love it, and they picked it out for me because obviously green goes well with red hair. So I need to make something that will make my hair look good with this, but it is Let Lopi, so it is a little bit of a more scratchy yarn, so I don't know if I could tolerate a hat in this or a cowl, but maybe I could. I feel like my tolerance for wool is really leveling up because of how many times I've worn my Let Lopi jacket that I made last year. So I'll have to figure out something special to do with this yarn because I do love this green. And then because they are so nice, they did bring me back 2 sweater quantities worth of yarn, which I am one lucky girl. So the first one is the Camp Garn. This is the sport weight yarn, and it's the merino, so it's a lot softer than the Let Lopi, and it's in the color 1205. And I am thinking that I want to make the Honey Tea by Brianna Mason in this because that pattern is a sport weight, I believe, and this is a sport weight, and I think it will look really, really great. And then I also got a sweater quantity of this Let Lopi, which is in the color 0085, which is a brownish gray. And I mentioned that I wanted a more brown color to make another port jacket because I love my port jacket that I made last year in Let Lopi. I used more of a lighter gray color, and I wear it almost every single day in the winter. Every single day. It's the jacket that I go to the most, and so I wanted a more brown version to match more things because sometimes I'm wearing more of like a warm brown color palette and the gray doesn't super go with that, and so to have this kind of grayish option will be perfect. And I love the port jacket so much that I wouldn't mind making it again. It's truly is a wonderful pattern, and I love how it fits and everything. And I think that I did choose a pretty big oversized version for the gray one, and so I'm thinking I might do a size down for this brown one just to have more of a close fitting, but I haven't really decided yet. But all I know is that this for sure will be a jacket, a port jacket, because one of my most worn knits of all time. That's all for acquisitions, and I do want to do a reading and watching update, but if you're not interested in that, I totally understand, and I hope that you're knitting what is bringing you joy. So as for reading, I have finished 2 books that I liked in the past 2.5 weeks. The first one is Children of Dune, which is the 3rd book in the Dune trilogy. I am very proud of myself that I have read all 3 books. The first book of Dune is so good. It's the one that the movies are based off of with Timothée Chalamet. And the second book is a bit strange, and the third book is also a bit strange, but I did like the third book better than the second book. So I just really enjoy the setting of Dune. I feel like it's a very fascinating world, and this book is about Paul's children and kind of the political landscape that they're navigating. So I found that to be very fascinating. And then I also read an advanced reader copy of Nicole Van's newest book, A Tartan Love. She writes beautiful historical Scottish romances. They are so heartfelt, so emotional, so deep, and so romantic, and I love her books so much. Highly recommend them. This one was a great one to start out with, or A Love Practically is another great one by her. Highly recommend. So good. As for watching, I followed the hype and watched K-pop Demon Hunters, and I didn't super find the story to be anything crazy new, and the entire time I was watching it I was thinking that it felt overhyped, and I think it's the music that truly makes people love this so much. The music is very catchy and very energetic, and just it's really fun to listen to. So I think that's why a lot of people love it. And so the music mixed with the beautiful animation just makes it a really fun watch. So that was a good knitting watch. And then I've just been doing podcasts. I haven't really been watching anything else. I have been doing more audiobooks as well. So yeah, that's my reading and watching update. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to answer my question of the day, which is what you're wanting to cast on next, or you can ask me a question for a potential Q&A video if you would like. I would love to hear anything from you guys. I love talking to you guys. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already and would like to. And I hope you guys are knitting what is bringing you joy. I will see you guys next time. Bye.